Thank you, Stephen. I am Michael Tamblyn, and I am Executive Vice President of Content Sales and Merchandising for Kobo. I am also heavily over-caffeinated this morning as the result of some sort of jet-lag self-medication that I've been doing, so you'll have to forgive me if this goes a little more quickly than it might have otherwise. We are a global ebook retailer. We're launched in December 2010, and just to give you a sense of how quickly this market has been growing, it took us 10 months to get our first million users. It took us another 90 days to get our next million users, and it took us 45 days as of last week to get our third million users. This market is moving very quickly. We are delivering ebooks into 200 countries. We are, given the day, anywhere between the sort of second and fourth most popular ebook app in iTunes. We were the first to sell ebooks on BlackBerry, the first on Android. We repriced the e-ink market in North America in May of 2010. We were the first to bring ebooks to the cloud. And what I wanted to do today is give you a brief look at what is happening behind the scenes in an ebook retailer today. One of the things that we've noticed is that a lot of sort of our peers in ebook selling essentially treat the retailer as a black box. Files go in, money comes out, and you have no sense of what's going on inside. So we thought we would kind of peel the curtain back a bit and give you a sense of kind of what's happening, what we look at, and what we're doing to try and understand this new consumer in this new space. And in the course of doing that, how we build a data-driven culture at Kobo, using the information that we see to get a better sense of how this customer looks and behaves. And so I'm going to talk about a couple of times of day. I'll talk about 5:11 a.m., 9:30 a.m., the 60-minute mark, Monday at noon, the 15th of every month, and we'll start at 5:11 a.m., which is when Kobo serves its data breakfast. And so it comes in every morning in my inbox, the Kobo Data Daily Sales and Visits email, and we're looking at these data points first thing in the morning on what's happened in the previous day. Apps that have been downloaded, traffic on the site, how people have been registering, sales, margin, what the top titles are, the mix of free versus paid, and the price points that we're selling books at. And we're looking at that by platform. We're looking at it by device. How are different devices and device types performing? We're looking at all of the different markets in which we sell, and we're looking at our own direct sales versus the partners that we also power. And we're comparing that against a 30-day trend and against the previous 4 months. Interestingly enough, we don't look any farther back than 4 months. The market is changing so quickly that historical comparisons that go farther than that are literally not useful at all. It's not fancy. This is something that's coming in text form or it's coming in Excel. We don't do any pretty graphs. We don't do any beautiful charts, partly so that we can change it quickly, and partly because we have people that are looking at it on screens. We have people that are looking at it on BlackBerries and iPhones and iPads, this mix of different devices. So it's literally sort of a river of text reports that are coming to people all the time. And we're doing that, we're digesting that on our phones, on our BlackBerries, on our iPads, sort of between 5:11 a.m. over breakfast on the commute on the way into work, so that we can be ready for 9:30 a.m., which is the daily sales meeting for us. And the daily sales meeting is a very big deal. It sort of looks like this. You've got a lot of people packed into a very small room. I asked them to take a picture of the daily sales meeting, and of course they forgot to do it when the daily sales meeting actually happened. So this is, in fact, a dramatic reenactment of the daily sales meeting. And it turns out that none of the people that are in this room are actually the people that are in the daily sales meeting on any given day. This, for example, is our one of the people who do sort of data operations for us, standing in as me, looking very commanding, I have to say. This is an important meeting because the whole company is here, in a sense. Representatives from every department are sitting around the table, and so it's people on the merchandising side, product mix, marketing, operations, development. Everybody's coming to this one place in this one room, and what we're looking at is what happened yesterday, across performance in marketing, in apps, in downloads, in traffic, and what are we doing today? What are we putting into the field? What new releases are we making? Are we putting a new device into market? And it's literally that short a window. What happened yesterday? What's happening today? And the whole thing takes 30 minutes, and then we're out. So the whole company comes together, 30 minutes, we coordinate, we try to see what we learned yesterday and what it'll apply to today, and then we break. And then, every 60 minutes, there's this drumbeat of new reports that are coming out. Downloads, traffic, registration, sales, margin. On the hour, every hour, into inboxes all through the company. And we're looking at that, again, by platform and device and geography and partner. And we're comparing it against the previous hour, against the same hour yesterday, and the same hour last week. And that's sort of the sphere in which we move. And we're looking for, are there things that we've put into the market and how they're performing? So a new email campaign, a new direct marketing campaign, PR, a press release that's gone out, and how that's impacted sales. We're looking for changes that have come as a result of software releases that we've made. We just put a new iPad app release out. How has that changed user behavior? It's delivered via email. But it's also everywhere in the company. So every team, every department literally has sales hanging over their heads every day, comping hour by hour, today versus yesterday over the course of the last 30 days. And so not just for the people that are directly involved in sort of sales and selling of content, like my team, the Android development team has Android sales over their head. The iPad development team has iPad sales over their head so that they can look up and see, as a software developer, how their contributions are actually driving the company's growth. And they can look across and see how they're comparing to the Android team on the other side of the room. So we're both trying to give people, regardless of their role, a sense of how their contributions roll up into sales. And we're also trying to give people a sense of kind of that hour-by-hour change. And it is literally all over the company. Monday at noon, we report to publishers, and it's that blast of POS data. Some of them are getting it daily, some of them are getting it weekly, some get it monthly, sort of depending on their size. And there we're trying to provide not just the raw POS data, but also some performance analysis. How are their books performing? How are they doing on kind of a rolling week-by-week and month-by-month basis? We're showing things like this. Here is what fiction looks like relative to sort of nonfiction and YA in terms of total sales in ebooks. So you can see this is still very much a fiction market, and if you roll that juvenile and YA number in, fiction gets even bigger. This is a market that is about narrative and escape. We're going to be providing more data to publishers as we go. The 15th is when we look at customers. So we basically cut a new cohort of every month of the new customers that we've acquired. And we're looking at all that same stuff that we were looking at before, but we're also looking at how long the customer's been with us, where we got them from. Was it someone that we acquired through search engine marketing? Is it someone that we acquired through advertising? We look at their buying preferences. And what we're trying to get a sense of is how much is this customer worth? And we're looking at their purchase frequency. We're looking at how their buying behavior changes as they move from platform to platform. And we're looking at the platforms that they're active on. That gives us a sense of what are the most to least valuable platforms for someone to land on, and should we be using that in terms of how we direct traffic. And we have basically sort of personas that we look at in terms of trying to get a sense of who these customers are. So, we have the voracious e-ink reader who's, there with her, lovely gray hair and red glasses, who represents our most valuable kind of customer. We segment customers into 3 buckets, gold, silver, and bronze. She is a gold A customer, which means she is part of our most valuable client segment. She's on an e-ink reader. She's been with us for a while. She reads primarily fiction. She doesn't consume much sort of free content. The first day that a customer like this shows up, she buys about $35 worth of ebooks. And when you consider the average price of an ebook in North America is about $7.80, she's really loading up on ebooks when she buys. And then her average visit after that is worth about $25 to us. And she comes back 7 times a month. This is a phenomenally profitable customer, and we have a lot of them. At the other end of the spectrum, we've got someone who reads primarily on a smartphone. They come and go, they sort of buy some books, and then they go away, and then they buy some more books, and they come back. Their first visit's worth about $5 to us. They kind of sit at the bottom end of the spectrum. Their average is about 11. They come back about once a month. And we were kind of confused by these people because we thought they sort of bought once and then they went away. And what we realized was that we weren't looking at a long enough term. We sort of looked at churn on a 90-day cycle, and we'd see one of these people pop up and they'd buy a couple of books, and then at the end of 90 days we wouldn't see them again. We realized when we widened out the window a bit, they would buy 1 or 2 or 3 books and then read them over the course of 2 or 3 months, maybe 4 months, and then they'd come back and they'd buy some more. So small screen readers don't read as often, don't read as frequently, but they kind of come and go. In the middle, we've got someone who's reading on an iPad, who has purchase frequencies that's almost as good as someone who's reading on an e-ink device. First day's worth about $22, their average is worth about $16, and they order a little more than once a week. That's a really, really good customer for us, and one who also sort of engages in a lot of other social aspects of e-reading I'll talk about in a second. And then we have the freegan, who essentially is worth almost nothing, but is someone who basically looks at ebooks as a way to consume free content. And we have a lot of these guys, and they're like the dark matter of ebook customers. There's kind of uncountable numbers of them out there, all of them reading Pride and Prejudice and Sherlock Holmes. And so this is kind of the data drumbeat that we have every day. The next thing that we're starting to look at, though, and we're starting to dig into more, is reading behavior itself. One of the things that's fascinating about being an ebook retailer is you're not just moving books across the till, you're actually responsible for the whole e-reading experience, how pages turn, how books are formatted, how they're presented. And so as a part of that, we want to understand reading behavior better. And to do that, we created a social layer that sat on top of the ebook store called Reading Life. And what it does is it learns about how you read. So it provides you with statistics about your reading behavior over time, how quickly you read, and how many books you have on the go at the same time. What times of day do you read? And how many pages do you tend to read? And part of this is just as a way of giving you, the consumer, a bit of a look at how you read, which isn't something that we tend to examine on our own. But it also is about how do we motivate customers to do different things. So we do badges and awards, and we will reward you for sort of getting 4 or 5 of a particular author's books together. And we'll tell you if you exhibit a certain behavior that we see other people also delivering. We create this timeline of every reading event that you've ever had, so you can kind of go back and look at how your reading behaviors change over time. We allow you to post all of this into Facebook, share it with your social graph so that you can start the conversations about the books that you have, so that they then show up and your friends can see what you're reading and what you're doing and what you're interested in. But we're also starting to look at what can we do inside the book. So, for example, here we are within Pride and Prejudice, and you see there's a little red pin in the corner that allows you to engage or share or acknowledge that you've met a particular character or a particular place. So you can check in at a location within a book, you can meet a particular character, and this is something that we've done for some of the books in our collection and we're starting to do with publishers, and it's not something that we do for every book, and it's not something that every reader is going to want to engage with, but it allows us new ways to layer in additional resources, put in promotional offers that a publisher might want to have embedded in, or additional information that sits outside the book that they can reference or at least get acknowledgement of within the book. So are there things that we can do to deepen and engage the reading experience itself? And this is not to try and crack the sanctity of the immersive reading experience, but there may be some books where this is appropriate, there may be some authors who want to engage this way, and there may be some publishers who can find new and interesting ways to kind of activate the user within that reading experience. And does any of this matter, the sort of social side of things? What we've seen is that every user who hooks up to Facebook, who sort of attaches their reading life to their social life, spends 33% more time within the app. They're actually engaged in reading longer, they're turning more pages, they're reading more books than someone who basically sort of treats their reading life as an island. And for us, all that we're trying to do is find new ways to make the reading experience more exciting, to keep customers with us longer, and to engage with them better. The better we know the customer, the better we can put the right book in their hands. Thank you very much.